Question.
Yes.
I would actually be open to Rex on this. Well, one, I guess first off, I think we're 7 years into this thing.
Mm.
We have never been gifted Beats by Dre. I will say that
Yeah.
to start off. I have also come to terms with I don't know who Dre is. I don't know if they're like what we even want deep down.
Mm-hmm.
But my AirPods I think are dying. Do you guys have any recs on? Should I just get AirPods again? What do you guys think?
I do not have any recommendations for you. I only have anti-recommendations, meaning like I would also like recommendations because all of the stupid headphones that I've tried to buy are stupid and
You're
they
talking
fail
about
me.
Bluetooth headphones, Bluetooth earbuds.
Bluetooth headphones that, especially in the car, I cannot find a pair.
You're not supposed to wear earbuds in the car.
No,
It blocks out the ambulance.
I think the word you're looking for is ambience, and that's what it's supposed to do.
It blocks out the ambience.
That's ambient noise cancelers. That's why I got them.
Can you imagine somebody running around with Bose noise cancelers in their car? Well, that's an interesting question too. Obviously, you're not allowed to drive if you are visually impaired. But what if you're hearing impaired? People can get driver's license, right? If they're deaf.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
But I do think
I'm just asking because my instinct, and I don't know if I ever read this in driver's ed, is that you're not allowed to have headphones on in the car because you're supposed to be alert to the sounds.
Right. I've thought about that too, and I remember that rule. But we're old, and I think things have changed because you're also you have to have a hands-free headset.
Right.
Yeah. So that would be maybe that's the core of my question now is like, well, what would be the difference between an AirPod and a like hands-free headset?
Well, the hands-free headset looks a lot dorkier.
Well,
and it's also in one ear, not two.
But if you have the Bluetooth ones, you can wear just one.
I've done that in the car because I prefer it. I think it sounds cleaner to the person you're talking to than over the car.
For sure. That's what I want. That's what I want. Because I don't know where my voice comes into the car.
Yeah, so you're yelling into the screen or the steering wheel.
Literally leaning forward, yelling into my steering wheel.
To the windshield.
Can you hear me?
Is this better? I've never thought about where is the car listening to me. Yeah,
I have no idea.
It's just around.
It's kind of everywhere. So then sometimes I'll aim it at my phone, like aim my voice at my phone directly.
No, I don't think it's there.
I don't know. But it did make me think, like, one, Connor, what's your beef with deaf people? Two,
I have no beef. Do not say that.
Take that back. Take that back.
Two, we may not have that many fans that are hearing impaired. We need to.
That's true. They are. This app Zencastr now has a transcript functionality, and it's pretty decent actually. I looked at one of them.
I've heard of those before.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, if you have to read what we're saying, it's not worth the time. Read anything else.
It's barely worth the time to listen.
Yeah, and that's if you're doing something else while you're listening.
At least one other thing. Possibly.
You should be cooking and doing your taxes while you listen to us. I think in answer to your question, I would get another set of your AirPods. I think they're the best. I work out with them. I don't take very good care of them. I sweat a lot, and they never fall out of my ears. I go for runs with them, and I use them to talk on the phone. I have used it in the car, like I said, to be a cleaner phone call than over the steering wheel mic. I think they're great. I've tried a couple others, both in the ear things that didn't work as well. I've never really tried the over the ear, but I have been in Zoom meetings where people are wearing the over ear ones, and wherever the mic is in those, it just sounds so bad, and you hear the of it rubbing against their head. I don't like it.
AirPods it is. And these lasted a long time. I'm yeah, they were dependable enough. I had them, I mean, several years, so I'm satisfied with the purchase.
How many years did you have them?
More than one
Okay.
and less than 10.
Wow, that's a
And
lot
that's
of
a
years.
broad range.
Well, when did AirPods? I got them. They hadn't been out that long. I think they're first edition.
I think I remember you getting them. You got them in
Mm.
seminary, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. We've been
Yeah.
priests 3.5 years,
That's pretty long, man.
so probably 4 or
Yeah.
5 years.
Oh
I
yeah, for
have a
little
pair of,
rinky-dink AirPods that last that long.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I got a pair of these Logitech that I used to work out, and they've been really good. And so then I tried to get some fancier Logitech to use in the car. No bueno.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I'm really frustrated because I keep wasting like $20, $50, and I may as
That's
well
my
just
friend
get,
says I'm too poor to buy cheap.
yeah,
Like nickel and
exactly.
dime you.
Exactly.
Make one purchase of something that's good and it's going to last long instead of a bunch
Too
of little cheap
poor to
purchases.
buy cheap. I'm gonna use that again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's a nice
Next
pretense
Lambo
for
I
buying
buy.
yourself nice things.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say,
So
guys, I've been reflecting and praying. I have enjoyed the podcast a lot lately. I don't know if it's just my current state of life and whatnot, but or it's the help of John and Megan not having so much to do any of the production notes and things like that. But it does feel like it's taking on a life of its own, and I do look forward to talking to you guys. So just wanted to share that. It is cool to think about 7 years that we've been doing this, and that we have over 250 episodes, and we're A, not sick of each other yet, and B, I mean, borderline not running out of things to talk about. We pretty much talk about the same things, but from a different angle.
Yeah. No, I would agree, man. It's good. Made me think. I had not intended to bring this today, but it was something that it might have been maybe in a conversation with John at some point, but he said something. We were talking about like content that we already have, and like just the idea of writing projects and things like that. And yeah, so my question, I was thinking about this. It was probably a couple weeks ago. Have there been any like I don't know episodes or discussions throughout 7 years? Is a long time. Jeez, that have like stood out to you guys at all? Like if there was like an episode that like you still or discussion you still think about, or like if you're like, hey, if we were gonna like write something or like take a transcript and try to like expand it a little bit more into an essay or something like that, like anything come to mind?
I think what the things that I have in my head is sort of pegs of like time stamps of what I remember about what we've talked about is usually like the books or the movies that have shaped like our conversations or my thinking. The first one that comes to mind for me is The End of the Affair by Greene. And like I'm in a discussion right now about relics going into this altar for the chapel, and whether or not it's really legit and according to the new rubrics and whatnot for the dedication of an altar. It's supposed to be a recognizable piece of a bone, and it's supposed to be underneath the altar, not in the mensa, and like what's practical in a small chapel and at a small Newman Center. Like we're not going to get a femur of Saint Sebastian, a recognizable bone. What you get is these little teclas of flakes of a bone, and you know, is it practical to make a crypt or just like a little aperture in the mensa and a reliquary underneath? And so, anyways, I've made my case for why I think it's a worthy tradition to do in the way that you're able to do it, and this is in the spirit of the law. But anyways, it's in the hands of the powers that be, whether or not we'll do it. But I keep thinking about the end of the affair. And isn't there some scene at the end where her hair is like somehow miraculous or whatever? And do you guys remember what I'm talking about? Towards the end of the book, spoiler alert, she dies. Um, and there is this like the author, the narrator, who is this really cynical atheist materialist who thinks the whole thing is a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It's like dismissive of the priest, who then makes some comment about how like, isn't any wonder that if like she's part of the body of Christ, that even her body would carry the weight of the miraculous or whatever, the divinity. And so like, I don't know, for some reason in my imagination, that mystical body theology through that story made sense. And why you would put a relic in or underneath an altar is because the altar is Christ. It symbolizes Christ in the liturgy. And just like in Revelation, you have all those martyrs under the altar. So, like the church suffering on earth is an extension of the incarnation of Christ's body. And so it makes sense to put the church in the altar, these pieces of their body. So it's not magic. It's sacramental of the reality that's being celebrated, but that's one example. Like I remember us we must have had 3 or 4 episodes just kept referencing that book, which now my book club, my old priest book club, is reading that now. So
yeah, I do think at the end of the movie or at the end of the book, is there a guy with a disfigured face that I think he has his face healed by the hair, something like that?
That might be it.
Yeah, I can't remember. We're kind of this is right up our alley right here.
Spark Notes, end of the affair. Let's see.
Yeah, but
there is a guy that she visited that like no one else knew. I don't remember the healing part though.
I think it was a part of the kind of the punch you in the face effect that Greene had with her growth in sanctity towards the end of her life. And there's like the revelation of God's grace that's been present and working in her life. He does such a good job of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't remember. Well, I guess 2 things is that, yeah, I agree with you, Connor, and I appreciate you saying it. I have really enjoyed the podcast as of late, and I was thinking about that as well. And I wonder how much of it has to do with just the capacity to do video chats now. That has kind of added another element to our ability to connect and things like that. That's kind of made it more lively and more like a real conversation, but I've definitely felt it also, like when we finish talking, just feeling joyful for the rest of the day. Yeah. And then I don't know, to the episodes, I have such a short memory and I don't log things very well in that way. And so like the ones that come to mind are just some of the most recent ones that I'm still kind of ruminating with. And, but I don't have any that go back. I mean, we're going on almost 8 years because we started in 14. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's a really long time. So I guess I'll throw it back to you, Rob. I mean, do you have any that come to mind?
Not really. My answer is kind of similar to yours. My memory is terrible. I've always one of the bad. Like the line. I think it came from you, Mets. But years ago, we did. I don't remember what the whole episode was about, but we were very just in love with Grace Kelly for a while in the seminary. I remember going back and watching all those movies of hers. She's such a great actress. And but the line "a gust of beauty," that one has always stayed with me. And like I'll talk to you like even in marriage prep or something like that, especially just getting to talk to guys and we'll talk about just like preparing their hearts for marriage, and I'll use that sometimes of like a gust of beauty.
Wow.
So that was one.
Yeah, that is a good line.
That's Grace Kelly. That was Rear Window. I remember the scene.
Yeah, man.
When she comes busting in.
Mm-hmm.
You just feel it.
Yeah. I like the point on the video chats though. It's been great.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we finally got things squared away and are able to get it pretty consistent and not as many hiccups, which makes it even more pleasant because the hiccups make it even more frustrating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
now
and
we
it's
can.
it's really something you said. I end up, or I don't want this podcast to be about the podcast, but there's not many things that you can say that about. Like after we get done, I feel more joyful, or whatever. Some just to have something to look forward to. That, and this is after we often get up at 6 a.m. and do it
Hmm.
before other things. It's worth sacrificing for. It's just a real gift from God. You guys, the priesthood, this podcast, our friendship, Mundelein Seminary, 3 North. Man, just blessings upon blessings.
Yeah. Dude, this is great. I was thinking, any like long time popular, amazing TV show will have like a Christmas episode. And this is being released after Christmas, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. This is like a Christmas episode, dude.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I wanted this to happen. I did not manipulate this to make this happen, but I gotta say it. I'm so happy. Yeah, no. You're totally right, man. It's just all these great things that we've been given, and then just kind of, thanks be to God, been able to live into. Yeah. Well, then if I can, well, Rob, did you have something there?
No, I was silencing a call on my cell phone.
Good.
I'm totally present here though. Yeah.
Rob, this is a Christmas episode.
Get your head in the game.
I would the only thing and then go with, but yeah, thinking on that, the Christmas episode spirit. Yeah, I think a few years into priesthood and like long enough to have some ups and downs in it and understand the life way better and everything like that. But the cast to me is such an extension of like the deep graces from the cam of like living on three North, which, man, I mean, I still tell like 3 North stories, and it was wild up there, man.
Yeah.
Like it was wild. I don't know another place to describe it. Of like it was like as wild as a fraternity, but virtuous. That was my experience of it.
Hmm.
It was awesome.
Hmm.
It was awesome.
Yeah, there was a good sort of Dionysian spirit. I remember one time Blaha, we were talking about like the schedule of the cam meeting and stuff and the expectations of the dogs before, during, or after the meetings. And he said something like, I can't do homework after cam meeting. I get the dogness in me and I can't settle down. So, and I was like, that's it. We're sort of like possessed of this spirit that is both kind of chaotic, but what's the D&D thing? Chaotic good. It's like it's good, but it's kind of wild. Yeah.
No, it's very true. It's very, very true. When we were telling stories the other day about like snowball fights and things like that, I remember.
Were we talking about that on the air or no? That was
No,
after.
I think it was.
Was it
I think it was
before?
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me of, like I remember doing just crazy stuff on the cam, and yeah, and living this virtuous life simultaneously, and just recognizing a lot of the graces that were handed down to our class. One was being able to join the cam when your class was coming in, Connor, and y'all had like 5 or 6 fully imbued with dog spirit men that we got to look to. And I think we had maybe 4 or 5 in our class that joined. And so it was a nice little parallel to y'all. And so it's always good to have somebody who embodies the spirit to look to what the example is like in reality. And one such man was Adam Wilczak,
Yes.
Father Adam Wilczak, truly a man. And I remember fighting him in the snow.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was, yeah, for listeners who don't know Father Adam Wilczak, he is the shape of a refrigerator. Like, actually, he is huge. And it was a professional weightlifter at some point, or at least a competitive
He was an amateur,
weightlifter.
but
And
he was in competition.
amateur. Okay. And
But he
yeah,
holds
would just
records.
lift insane amounts of weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I remember one time like being utterly convinced that I was going to knock him off his feet and just obliterate him. And I did I tried to T-bone him. He was making that turn heading up to the refectory around the walkway in front of the theology house building. And I just cut right through the snow and tried to spear him. And I thought I broke my back. It was like tackling a wall, dude.
It's funny. Wilczek had that effect on me as well. Like we'd just be sitting there, and he was so, I don't know what would be the humor that he was, the sanguine or choleric or something. He was just or melancholic. He would just sit there, and he was not easily riled up.
Mm-mm.
But then I would look at him and I'd be like, I want to beat you up, dude. And I would just be like, dude, do not make me come over there. And he'd be like, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Do it.
Somebody needs to hold me back right now.
So then I'd be pushing at him, and he would not give his full strength until finally I just bugged him enough and been like pushing him that he would give me everything he got. And I swear it would launch me 40 feet down the hallway.
Yeah, done.
I would slide on carpet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. He was an immovable beast, but that was like pretty common. Yelling and screaming, trying to tackle each other. And then one of the great moments, it may have been after you left, Connor, but Father Dan Wager, another giant human being from Kansas City, 6'8", huge. Definitely, I'm glad he's a priest and all, but he could have been a great NFL lineman. No joke, dude. I think he may have missed his calling primarily there. But when we cleared out the cam room and renovated it, we had to get rid of one of the old sofas.
Oh my gosh.
And it's hard to carry sofas downstairs and upstairs. The turns and the tight squeeze. And we have that sick balcony. Do you know how easy it is for gravity to take a sofa down 3 flights of stairs? And Dan Wager came out on the balcony with the couch over his head.
Oh my gosh.
At 6'8", I'm like yelling, "Ah!" and chucked it off the balcony. And it hit, and it was already broken and busted and everything. But
was this on the boulevard outside of Father Dog's room?
No.
Because we did one out that balcony, which we lit on fire just to say we did it.
You lit the balcony on fire?
No, we lit the couch on fire, just very slightly, and then threw it off the balcony. And then someone was there, I think Elvio Baldion, and threw water on it to put it out because that's where the dumpster was. And we just thought, wouldn't it be funny to say we threw a flaming couch off of this balcony?
We were in the prime spot on campus as well.
Oh, yeah.
Where everyone would walk by. Right, but that's like all fraternity stories. But
that's
there
the thing.
was great virtue to it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like legitimately like friendships and praying together, talking about graces, always. Yeah, it was very, very formative, man. I mean, I've heard and I would say this as well, but I've heard like several guys talk about like the cam almost being a vocation saver in a way. And I know it deeply formed me because that was, and this was nothing against like any seminary or anything like that, but going in, you just have so many questions around seminary and like, hey, what's this going to be like and all of that. And I think like implicitly you're just like, man, I still got to be a dude, you know, like,
Yeah.
got to be able to hang and have good friendships and have fun. Um, and yeah, the cam just exceeded that. But I think that that's important in like so many aspects, not just seminary. Of we've talked about this before, Mets, but what term do we use? We used to throw at stuff like it gets Catholicized or something like that, which pretty much like if something cool is happening that's like the faith is integrated in, there's always that person that I don't know how else to say it, like just wants to make it lame. You
Yeah.
know, there's
Neuter it.
no other yeah, there's just no other way to say it.
Hmm.
And you can't do that, man.
Hmm. And
Hmm.
you don't think that happened on the cam? Is that what
Well,
you're saying?
that was not my experience that did
Yeah.
not happen.
Yeah. It was kind of resistant to that because it was, we had our own internal methodology of accountability to the ethos. We'd hold each other to it in fun ways, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there was built in a certain corporate virtue that we were all striving for, but also individually. Like I remember me and Scott Harder, we were the only two of our class on the cam when we were in second year pre-theology. Kind of like you two probably were as well, right? Of your
Who?
class.
Yeah, a couple guys discerned out.
Yeah.
Was it just us that was all the way through?
Yeah, I think
Anyways, so me and
so.
Scott, our first year on the cam, that was when I first started praying a holy hour every day. Like it was not made clear, at least to me, I didn't ever hear it that you're supposed to do that every day. And um, yeah, we go over to Marytown pretty much every day after breakfast, or like whenever we had our morning gap, either the first period or the second period, and go pray over at Marytown. And it was just what I needed to get my body somewhere else in front of the Eucharist, exposed, and pray and build that habit up. That then I went to IPF this summer after that and kind of had this experience of really being sure this is what I wanted to do. This is what God was calling me to do. But it was, not in a vacuum, not an individual sport. And
Right.
us living down the hall from each other and being part of that. And then the dog thing was, we're the best damn cam on campus with the highest GPA, which was tongue in cheek, but really like the best damn cam on campus thing was that we
The
stay
highest
late.
GPA.
The ICBA. Yeah.
We stay late at things and we help clean up and we volunteer for stuff.
Yeah.
Like we represent on campus. So there was this pride in it, and which was funny when it would drive people crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is unfortunate, but then it also it's basically like baiting us. You're like, that makes us want to bark a little
Posture even
louder.
more, right?
Do you get a little side bark just coming out the side there? Yeah, no, and like a lot of this is making me think of a lot of conversations I've had recently with my siblings who are young adults and thanks be to God have good social structures in their life, but just been talking to my family a lot in gratitude of all the friends that like the Lord's put in my life and uh, in seminary, but even before seminary and then after seminary and priesthood. And, it's kind of what we're talking about is just the CAM facilitated authentic friendship aimed towards being priests of Jesus Christ. And I don't know how people do it without friends.
Yeah.
Like it seems so essential to me. And that's just looking experientially and reflectively on my own life. My good gravy, good friends were a part of like the most fundamental transformations of my life. Jesus included, like that's friendship
Mm-hmm.
essentially as well. But dang, friends are so good.
Yeah. Even now, I have Tim Anastas here, who I met on the cam, even though he was at U of I 4 years before me or after me. But I got to know him a couple of years he was on at Mundelein before we went off to the NAC, and now he's my associate. We live together. We still have dogness in all its forms. He decorated our hallway, the office hallway, according to the 3 North aesthetic, which people loved.
Yeah, man. People do love that. That brings joy, man. It brings so much joy.
Right. So it is. It's something. I also don't know how you get through life without friends.
Do you know? I just learned this. That the thing that Pope Benedict mentioned the most in his writing, and I don't know if it's in his full body of work or just when he was Pope, but how it was told to me, like the thing that he mentioned and talked about most in his writing was friendship with Jesus. Like not any, all the kind of vast amount of work that he did, and he's so prolific in so many areas of theology. And apparently that's what he talked about the most, was being a friend of Jesus.
It's good. I've probably mentioned this a million times before, but Schoenstene once said something about that. He's like, if you read the Bible every day, you will be a friend of the Lord. And I just thought, this guy's a friend of the Lord. Schoenstene. He's this erudite, kind of weird dude that, doesn't really talk much. He'll get up there and kind of awkwardly mumble through a lecture and then go straight home in his like an Indiana Jones hat. But I'm just like, this guy knows Jesus. He just, like the way he talks, the way he would preach a homily, like not looking anybody in the eye, but you could just like hear from where he was speaking. And that is an amazing thing, to be able to see how your friendships have shaped you. It's kind of like my mom used to say, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. When somebody's a friend of Jesus, it just shows in how they are. And it doesn't make you this Catholicized, neutered, whatever, lame automaton, like out of a assembly line. Like you have your personality still, and I think that's what 3 North was so cool, was like there were so many different personalities, people from different countries, people from different backgrounds, and like everybody was celebrated in their own way or mocked, but in a loving way.
It's totally true. Yeah, we had an amazing cam. Dang it. Which I think it also did a great job of allowing people to be themselves and yet integrating them into something bigger than themselves, which then hopefully integrated into the bigger seminary. And that's why we would say like we're the best damn cam on campus with
a
high CPA. High CPA. And then we would try to give that in service. And so we would stay later and stay after. And it was that we were our own thing did not mean that we were also not a part of this bigger seminary.
Right.
And that each individual was their own person doesn't mean that they lived on an island, but it actually created this unique spirit of the cam and then was structured and built up together. And that's a really amazing thing, like to have this unity in the midst of multiplicity, and to see it stack up well on the cam, bunch of individuals that are really different. I mean, at one point we had a guy from, oh man, I'm trying to remember. I think he was from Cameroon, playing spoons in our cam band. And
we did have a cam band. That's right.
Bucket of fish heads.
Rusty bucket full of fish heads.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony. We played at the talent show. Anthony.
What? Yeah. And I think he was smoking a pipe too. And it was like the most. He was
no.
Excuse me.
Anthony played the spoons, and Emmanuel Torres Fuentes, his only job was to smoke a pipe for the band. While we were performing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because I was the only reason, because Mano directed us, and I was so musically untalented that my instrument was an empty bag of chips that I would like every now and then. But we had it was Jagger playing the violin, and Mano could kind of do all those instruments, and so I think it sounded pretty good.
It was amazing. But talk about like a multiplicity of personalities and backgrounds, and I mean any way that you want to talk about the great virtue of diversity, but molded into one and being a part of this bigger whole is like, it's so cool to see. Not everybody was the same, and yet there was something that unified us and benefited everybody because of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also rabid accountability.
Yeah.
Like, I sincerely mean that. Like, I mean, you knew if you did something dumb, I mean,
Yeah.
you were getting come after.
That's what I'm saying is there were mechanisms built in from before we were ever there on how to hold each other accountable to the values. But every once in a while, I mean, we did have it was a living tradition. I remember myself as alpha dog once having to kind of temper some of the attitude. Every once in a while, I would just get too macho or whatever, and just we needed to be a little bit more sensitive. And you had to always call it back to what's essential about dogness. It's not that we're just loud and braggadocious. It's that we are Christ-like. We certainly masculinity, I think, would have been one of the highest values. That this is we're men who then are also called to this vocation of the priesthood, or at least to discern it in the seminary. But we do not cease to be men, and that showed forth in the way that we related to each other and the hobbies that we, even Chop for Life, like the wood cutting club for the pro-life stuff was kind of housed in 3 North and stuff like that. It was so perfect too that Father Franzman was the dog father, that it's just like the most utility player ever.
Big time. And then even Father Dog coming on, Father Ed, the other dog father. Yeah.
Love him.
He just fits so perfectly in there as well. And yeah, it was just a match made in heaven up there. And I mean, there were even times when we'd get a group that would go down and serve with the sisters. And so it was, I think, always hopefully imbued with that Christ-like spirit, which is perfect as well. I'm sure we said this when we were on the cam, but dog is man's best friend. And that was a part of the spirit of, it was like the essential spirit of dogness. And it does surround around that friendship, I think.
I had on my door I think it was like the 12 virtues of the dog that a servant of God should have. It was something in the while we're at it in First Things. I forget. But it was like that the dog will, as soon as it's if you punish a dog but then start petting it, it forgets the punishment and immediately starts wagging its tail, or a dog never carries a duffel bag with him, or he always just sleeps wherever he finds himself at night, and things like the humility, the service, the gratitude, the loyalty of a dog. But it was from some medieval thing that it was translated from Latin. But yeah, it is perfect. The dog as who knows where that even came from. It's sort of, that's what's so cool about that tradition, was that it just kind of came out of nowhere. There was no one author of it.
Did we make it though?
I think we invented it.
I don't quote me on this, but I think that's our quote. That dog is man's best friend.
Oh, did we invent that saying?
Maybe.
I'm looking for this virtues of the dog. Man, sometimes Google just fails you. You'd think.
You can't find it on Google?
Maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
Flip me on it when you find it.
I'll flip you guys.
Yeah, flip me on it. And I like that phrase, flip me on it.
That's old, like early 2000s business speak, my friend.
That's another thing I learned on the podcast. You told me that on the cast.
Yeah, can you flip me on that? That means email me.
Shoot. I'm just now getting that. Y'all should have flipped me on that. Connor, you need to find where you can speak into your computer microphone better so Google can track you.
Okay.
We're talking about dogs.
Yeah, that's true. It should be coming up as an ad in Facebook for me.
It's true.
Because we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Metaverse.
Well, guys, I'm gonna have to get going pretty soon.
Well, at least it will feel joyful after this. Yeah. It's funny too, because I told you guys before we started recording that this specific episode was going to be much later, posted much later than we're actually recording it. So let's not talk about Christmas. And it became the Christmas episode.
We made it our Christmas episode.
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
we could save it for 23.
That's too.
Or 22.
Next
22.
Christmas?
Yeah.
That's
Something
true.
to think
we could
about.
do that. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, we're definitely just gonna.
No, just throw it out there. Just post it for sure. Just post it. Just post it.
All right, guys.
See you, dudes.
Take it easy.